Hi, my name is Brian Sun. I'm currently the partner in charge of the Los Angeles office of Jones Day. Well, I guess I would be described as a first-generation Chinese American. My parents emigrated here separately in the late 1940s following the takeover by the communists in China. But our roots in America had predated that. My family had sent many of their children over to the West for education. So my grandfather actually went to the University of Wisconsin in the 1920s and then returned to China. I was born myself in the 1950s in Monterey, California. You know, sometimes people ask me how I got on the path towards where I am today. I was isolated from my family, was by myself, living in a dorm at USC, and the one thing I had for me at that time was martial arts. I was very into that. I got a job as a stuntman on this TV show called Kung Fu, which was quite interesting. The martial arts stuff impacted me a lot because I got my first job at a big law firm, not because my grades were so great, but because I had stuntman down there at the bottom of my resume, and the guys at this law firm said, "Oh, that's different," and they interviewed me about it and my background, and that's how I got my first professional job as a summer clerk at a big LA law firm. Well, law school, it's funny, I put this on my law school application. Being a lawyer was something where I thought it gave me a multitude of options in terms of what I could do with my professional life. I could go into politics, education, practicing law, government. There were a lot of things you can do as a lawyer. So that's what initially attracted me to the law. But for a number of reasons, pretty early on, I gravitated towards litigation, which is what I do today. The things that motivate me as a lawyer, besides obtaining professional gratification, doing good work for clients, and getting positive results for clients, is having some impact, a positive impact on others, either through the casework that I do, or just as I said, maybe impacting larger causes or issues that affect me, my family, and other people in the community, whether they be in a civil rights type context or some other social issue that has some meaning. It's something that I think it's important for all lawyers, not just APA lawyers, to have a little sense of that or have a little part of that in your DNA. Because if we all have a little bit and we give a little bit, society, everybody's going to benefit. We always need more APA lawyers on a number of different levels. And you start with the notion that as a community, and we're diverse even within the APA community, Asians by general culture are not perceived to be people who speak out vociferously when things happen. A lot of people like to say we don't have a Jesse Jackson or Martin Luther King, yet APAs, Japanese Americans, Chinese Americans, the whole communities each have their own experiences, whether it's the Japanese Americans during World War II, for the relocation camps, Chinese Americans' 100+ year history of discrimination and the immigration experience that they had in America. And so we as a community have not had the kind of spokespersons or organizations that will get up there and fight for our rights. And so lawyers are at the heart of that. When you have educated, trained lawyers who can fight the battles in immigration or civil rights or hate crimes, things of that nature, that's where you begin. That's what led us to form NAPABA, the National Asian Pacific American Bar Association, because of the need and recognition that there should be a national voice for the APA community with lawyers helping to lead the way to not just break down barriers, from the glass ceiling standpoint, but also to lead the charge on civil rights and a plethora of issues that are important to our community. It really wasn't until the tragic murder of Vincent Chin in Detroit in the early 1980s that really resonated with APA lawyers around the country that there was a need for a national organization to speak up on hate crimes, civil rights violations, and the like. So in 1987, a number of lawyers gathered here in Los Angeles, actually, to talk about the formation of a national group. And I finally remember, and I tell the story sometimes about how there were about 16 of us in a conference room in West LA down the street, and we had lawyers from Massachusetts, New York, Hawaii, Northern California, Southern California, who got together in the room, and most of them came because of personal relationships they had formed in law school or had grown up with somebody. And we said, look, we need to do something and try to make it stick. So from that set of meetings, which occurred at the California State Bar Convention in 1987, spawned communications with the ABA, the American Bar Association, that led to a meeting in Dallas in 1988. And in 1989, we had our first convention in San Francisco. And it's one of my prouder moments, and I look back in my professional career of having been witness to and a part of that initial founding of NAPABA. It's one of those things you look back on and say, boy, that was really cool.